Hey everyone, Mr. Aaron's here again. Today we are going to be doing some solving equations just like yesterday, but we are going to use a specific method, subtracting and adding. Some vocab for today. We got two properties in this vocab here. Inverse operations. Inverse operations, all this means are they're operations that undo each other to help get to a variable. So for example, if we had, let's see, 5 equals 6 plus x. All we're going to do here is we're going to do an inverse operation to figure out, to get x by itself, get our variable alone. Get x by itself, we're going to subtract 6 from this side. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do the other. Subtract 6 from that side, it gets us -1 equals x. So an inverse operation is something that you do on both sides to undo a certain thing. So we have a positive 6, we did a -6 to undo it. Those cancel out. Gets our variable by itself, helps us solve that. So an inverse operation, we'll have plenty of practice with that, but it's an operation that undo each other to get the variable alone. Our first property here, our subtraction property of equality. You can subtract the same number from each side of an operation. So what this is saying is if we have A equals B, then A minus C equals B minus C. This number C can be anything. As long as we take it from both sides, we're allowed to do that. For example, if we have 10 equals 2 times 5, we know that each side is equal to each other. 10 equals 2 times 5, 2 times 5 is 10. So what we can do is, if we want to, we could subtract 5 from each side, and it'll still be true. 10 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 5 is 5. We're allowed to subtract from each side as long as you do it to both. Whatever we do to one side, you have to do to the other. That's the important thing to remember here. So let's look at this first problem here. We have x plus 6 equals 4. We're going to do an inverse operation to try to get the variable alone. Our variable here is our x. Remember, our variables are our letters. In order to get this by itself, we have to get rid of this 6. So we're going to do the inverse operation. Instead of plus 6, the inverse of that would be minus 6. Whatever we do to one side, you have to do to the other. I might even write that down. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. I think that's something that you should get in your notes. Oh no, I just drew right through it. There you go. Super important. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if we did minus 6 from this side, we can't just do it from that side. We also have to do it from over here. That gets us to x equals 4 minus 6. I know that 4 minus 6, I have more negatives here, so I rewrite this as x equals -2. We did the inverse operation, the operation to undo plus 6. We did a minus 6, got x by itself. Look at the next one. Same thing. We have x plus 8 equals 3. We have to get this variable by itself. In order to do that, we're going to do the opposite of plus 8. We're going to do minus 8. Minus 8 from each side. These two cancel out. Leaves us with x equals 3 minus 8. We have more negatives than we do positives, so I know that x can equal -5. All right, last one. They changed up the format a little bit here for us. We got 5 equals d plus 1. We do this the same way. We're trying to get this variable by itself, trying to get d by itself. In order to do that, we're going to do the inverse operation, the operation that undo each other. So how can we undo plus 1? Well, of course, the opposite of that would be to do minus 1. Whatever we do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we did minus 1 on this side. We got to do minus 1 over here too. Those two cancel out. 5 minus 1 equals 4. Just like that. I think this one rule right here is going to be able to get you through this whole lesson. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. All right. We got a little bit of a word problem here. We know Fred's target heart rate is 130. I see 130. I write that down. This is 58 beats more than his resting heart rate. 58 beats more than his resting heart rate. 58 beats more. Okay. What is his resting heart rate? We're going to use R as the variable for his resting heart rate. So we know that 130 is his target heart rate. It's 58 beats more than his resting heart rate. So what that means is his resting heart rate plus 58 is going to get us to 130. So how can we get this variable by itself? We're going to do the inverse operation. In order to undo plus 58, we're going to do minus 58. That'll cancel out these. Leave R over here by itself. A little quick math here. Start by moving this over to here. Make this a 2. Make that a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Can't do that. We got to use this one over here. Make that a 12. Make that a 0. 7. 72 equals R. We got that variable by itself by doing the inverse operation. We're able to figure out resting heart rate, 72 beats. On to the next. Our next property, the addition property of equality. Same thing as the last. Same thing as the subtraction, other than we're going to be adding. You can add the same number to each side of the equation. Whatever you do to the one side, you have to do to the other. We're using this rule again. Most important rule for the day. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So they have A equals C. Then we know that A plus C equals B plus C. We're allowed to add this number C as long as these two are equal. For example, we have 8 equals 2 times 4. We know 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. We're allowed to add 3 to each side as long as we do it to both. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So this time we're going to, instead of subtracting, our inverse operation is going to be to add. So looking at our first one, we need to get this variable by itself. In order to do that, we got to get rid of this minus 12. How can we do that? Simple. Plus 12. Whatever we do to one side, we got to do to the other. Those cancel out. Leaves us over here. 1, carry that up. B equals 60. Ooh, that's a 20. 61. Whatever we do to one side, we got to do to the other. Looking at the next one. Y minus 5 equals 8. The inverse of this. To get y by itself, we got a plus 5 to each side. Whatever we do to one side, we got to do to the other. Leaves us with y equals 13. 8 plus 5 is 13. We added 5 to this side. We had to add 5 to that side to do it. Cost to y equals 13. All right, finally, we got to get this p by itself. In order to do that, we have to get rid of this minus 30. Do the inverse operation. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. P equals 2, 7, 72. I know this seems pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This is a super helpful tip. I got one more word problem for us here, and then I'm going to let you get right to work. All right, they tell us your friend's DVR costs $328 less than her TV. So the DVR costs less than the TV. We know the DVR costs $197 or $179, excuse me. I'm reading this again. I see that T is what we're going to use for our TV. The DVR is $328 less than her TV. So we have the TV minus $328 because it's $328 less than TV. Our T represents TV, and that's going to equal the price of the DVR, which we already know is this. Here's where we use our inverse operations. We need to get T by itself. To do that, we're going to add 328 to each side. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Those ones cancel out. Leaves us with T equals 179 plus 328. 7, 1. I think my math is right. T equals 503. 7. Big takeaways from today. Using those inverse operations to undo the opposite. And whatever we do to the one side, we have to do to the other. Good luck with this. I think you're going to crush this one. Pretty similar to our last lesson. Keep up the good work.